Recently I uploaded a video to Facebook and YouTube entitled Creationist Scientists versus Scientific Creationism. And of course, on Facebook I tagged Eric Hovind in this video, to which his response was, "My thoughts. Lots of personal attacks, no science. Lots of begging the question, no real facts." He then posted to my wall, "Hey man, love the dialogue and appreciate your willingness to defend your religious worldview, despite the fact that I base my beliefs on evidence, and religion is, by definition, belief with no evidence. However, please do not post a video with cursing on my page again. I have many people that visit my page, and many with young children. They would be deeply offended by the lack of professionalism that was shown in your video. Now, I am aware, and I forgot, because I tagged him at the last minute, that NoahPlum99 said some bad words in that video, for which I apologize. By the time this video is uploaded to YouTube and Facebook, there should be a version of the previous video with that part cut out or muted or whatever I choose to do to work around that. I apologize for that. I tagged you at the last minute, Eric, and that was my mistake. Now that you have enjoyed making your many ad hom attacks, do you have any actual science that will back up the evolution theory? This video will serve as a response to Mr. Hovind, as well as an addition to the previous video re-explaining things, hopefully in terms that he can understand. In this video, I will be reviewing the old video, pointing out the facts that he apparently missed, as well as the fact that there are no personal attacks in the previous video, unless I sorely misremembered the video that I made. So let's start off with this claim of personal attacks and offense. Now, of course, I went back and looked at my original video again, and the only time I think that he could apply the whole ad hom attack complaint is in the last 4 or 5 seconds.
So was there really a worldwide flood? The evidence says
you fail. But did Eric really fail? Was I just attacking him for being an idiot that he really isn't? Well, let's look back at the original video, shall we? In the original video, he put forth the existence of fossilized closed clams on the top of Mount Everest as evidence of a flood. Presumably, the idea was that they were overcome so quickly by sediment that they were closed and they were buried alive, meaning they couldn't open when they died, and the flood also carried them up to the top of the mountains which were covered in the flood. Now, in what can only be described as creationist logic, he disregards everything we know about these fossilized clams, passively claiming there is no other way to explain this, and then presents his bogus idea that has no evidence for it, as if this is the only way this could have possibly happened. The fact is that we do have an explanation for these clams that I already mentioned in the video that he chooses to ignore. This by itself, I think, warrants a stamp of failure, not only for him but for his team of researchers who obviously didn't do any research before Eric made this video. But maybe I'm being a little too hasty to judge him. Let's take a look at another one of his videos in which he talks about the Grand Canyon.
in the bottom is the Colorado River. You know, some scientists suggest the Colorado River formed the Grand Canyon over millions of years. But take a look at these facts to see it from a different perspective. The Colorado River exits the canyon 1,800 feet above sea level. It enters the canyon 2,800 feet above sea level, and the top of Grand Canyon is 7,000 feet above sea level. So you tell me, did the river flow uphill for millions of years to carve out the Grand Canyon? Or is it possible that the Grand Canyon is the result of Noah's flood?
Ooh, so close, but no. Once again, we have an explanation for how the Grand Canyon formed. You present what is called a straw man, which is a false representation of the opposite side that is easier to take down than the actual opposition. Again, you're acting as if there is no way to explain the formation of the Grand Canyon. This is simply not true, as I will demonstrate.
Many geologists now think it happened something like this. All of the Earth's oceans and continents ride upon enormous pieces of the Earth's crust called plates, which fit together like a restless jigsaw puzzle, jostling each other at the edges. 80 million years ago, two of these plates collided at North America's west coast. The Pacific Plate slid under the North American Plate, creating the Rocky Mountains, and ultimately forcing the uplift of the whole Colorado Plateau. The combination of the mighty Colorado River flowing over the already rising plateau created a geological buzzsaw, a deep groove from which the river could not escape.
It's important to understand that the river by itself did not carve this canyon. The river did cut down its own channel, but basically it's a transportation system. It's the freight train that carried all the rest of the rock out. And the canyon was widened out by all of the side streams and all the little rivulets that are carving into the canyon wall. It's not the river that made the great wide canyon that we see, but all the tributary drainage systems that led to the carving of the canyon.
Side streams and tributaries flow into the main Colorado River, gouging out their own side canyons, like this one. When there's a violent storm, truck-sized boulders tear loose from the canyon walls and are driven headlong in a terrifying wall of mud and rock called a debris flow.
It also might surprise you to know, Eric, that I've been to the Grand Canyon. Really beautiful place. And once we got off the plane, we found, hey, an exhibit on the Grand Canyon, on the edge of the Grand Canyon. And no, we did not just see illustrations that were an artist's imagination of how the canyon formed. We actually saw pictures, explanations. There is even a little piece of rock with a root growing through it to show how roots can erode the rock. It also talked about how harder layers resting on softer ones will collapse when the softer ones get eroded, and it even addressed debris flows, like in the video I just showed you. Now, in case you've been fast-forwarding through this video ignoring the content, here's a very simple illustration of what's going on here.
We have Theory A and Theory B. Theory A is supported by loads of evidence. Theory B is supported by no evidence at all. Now here's the key step in the argument. 4. I can't understand how Theory A explains phenomenon X. Therefore, Theory B must be right.
To learn more about creation, visit us at creationminute.com.
Wait, what was that?
To learn more about creation...
To learn more about creation. That's interesting because there was no educational material in there whatsoever. It's all demonstrably false. And what does he mean, learn about creation? All that he's done is disinform us about geology. Even if Eric were 100% correct and we had no way to explain the Grand Canyon, that doesn't mean that this other idea, for which there is no other evidence, is any more true. Just because Theory A fails in some particular does not mean that Theory B is suddenly correct. Eric, once again, you fail.